Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to North Shore Live, Cooper's Corner. We're live on this very snowy evening, February the 25th, 2015. We're having more than just a little bit of a lake effect. We keep thinking spring, it's got to come sooner or later. We would prefer sooner, and as far as Ponsetauky or Tucky Phil, I think they better change their animals because I don't like this guy keep telling the weather that we're getting more snow. Anyhow, please be watchful of how you drive, and we want to thank our guests for coming in by Santa sleigh and reindeer because it's very slippery out there. So, we want to also make mention that we lost a very dear friend recently, an attorney, Michael Thomas Norris, criminal courts attorney, who was a real human being and compassionate for the people that he served. Wonderful, wonderful young man. Well, he was 60 years old. That's still young. And married 48 years to his beloved Barbara. We want to send our condolences out. It's the first time we've made it public. And at the closing of the program, we're going to show you a picture of Michael T. Norris, just a very wonderful human being. We will really be at a loss for his ability to care for those who are in need of real law and the protection of the one who needs the protection. So we're going to show you Michael T. Norris in memory of Mike. God rest your soul, Mike. Best regards and condolences to the family, John Callahan and Barb, and Barb, the wife, and to the daughter. So, and the 3 grandchildren. So, we're very sorry for that loss to the whole community. He was a good attorney. So this evening, this is part 3 of the most dangerous blogger in Illinois that happens to be none other than our guest, sitting here as delightful as she can always be, JoAnne Denison, patent attorney. And we want to thank you for coming down in your sleigh with reindeer because the snow is terrible outside.
As soon as I walked out the door, it was snowing plenty, and I had to come down Toohey Avenue, and Toohey Avenue was backed up with all the commuters, and everybody's late, and no one's got any patience, and that took me 20 minutes. And then I got on the expressway, and I love to hear those announcers go, "Oh, it's only 20 minutes from downtown to Lake Cook Road," and I'm like, "No, it's not."
They're not sitting in the car with you.
No, they weren't sitting in the car with me. It was very heavy snow, and it wasn't until I got into Highland Park. So I just made it here. 3 seconds? I did 3 seconds.
Absolutely, 3 seconds before we went on the air.
It was really a crazy ride up here. But I'm glad I'm here because there's all kinds of fun things to talk about tonight.
Oh, and are we excited to hear what you have to say? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. What I've been up to lately with the blog
absolutely.
and everything, and the Illinois ARDC. I think a number of the viewers already know that the ARDC is not taken well to the fact that I publish things about certain favored judges and attorneys that they're simply not following the law. The law is A, and they're doing B, C, and D, and it always seems to be to the benefit of somebody. Oftentimes it's the OPG, the Office of the Public Guardian, or as many people call it, Office of Public Greed. Yeah, it's not good. Fighting them off every day. And I don't understand this. How can a state agency, which already gets salaries and a budget, go into these estates and charge them $250 an hour to simply write checks, manage the estate, and all they seem to do is screw it up. They isolate, they drug, they throw these people in nursing homes against their will. They cause all kinds of problems. I get all kinds of complaints. And of course, if the family or the disabled person writes to the ARDC, the Attorney Registration and Disciplinary Committee, what do they get back? Nonsensical letters. As in your case.
Yeah.
How many nonsensical letters did you get?
Many, and it was
Really?
ridiculous, yes.
I would love to publish those.
Yeah, because, well, we have 6 letters that I wrote to ex-attorney Karen Bowes. We knew for 27 years. We now find out she has been appointed a judge. Hello. So,
You know where she's going, right? Yeah.
so we have those 6 letters, and I've sent her the letters because of the fact that what was happening with my mother. I said, I'll send them to the judge. That was Kawamoto, but she said, no, don't do that. Send them to me. I said, well, how is she going to know that? Well, I'll tell her about it, but send them to me. So we have these 6 letters that have never been published, publicly, but Karen Bowes had these 6 letters.
And she didn't turn them over to the JAB or the Judicial Inquiry Board or the ARDC, correct?
Why would she? Because she was really a part of that.
That's terrible. That's terrible. Have you sent them to the JIB and the ARDC yet?
I've not done anything with them.
I'd love to send them.
I think we will take that into very strong consideration because these letters explained. I sat with my mother for 12 hours a day when she was in that nursing home or the other nursing homes, of which I did not put her. That was not her wish. Her wish was to remain in her home. And that was it. And so the heat was like 98 degrees inside, and inside the room, the heaters were going inside the room, and outside it was like, the heat was impossible. All the senior citizens were sweating. They were very uncomfortable. I just kept writing. I was looking for paper to write. I couldn't find paper. I wrote on envelopes. I wrote on tissue paper. I wrote on whatever I could find to let her, step by step, let her know it's this time, the heat is not going down. I've just checked the thermostat. This was really bad. This was at the Lakeview Nursing and Rehabilitation
Center.
Yeah,
Center.
it's on Diversity Parkway. They don't rehabilitate. They don't nurse. They don't do anything. This is just a holding place that Miriam Solo put my mother, because I didn't put her there.
Right.
As a matter of fact, she told me not even to come visit her. Had I listened to her, then she would have had something to hold against me that, regardless of what I would have said, she would have made something out of it. But this was a Bears game or something. And I said, I don't care. I'm going to visit my mother. I'm going down there. And she said, well, I told you don't go down there. All this information are in the letters, all the 6 letters.
I'd love to read them. I think they need to go to the authorities. I think what happened to your mother, pulling her teeth,
29
dehydration
teeth,
and starvation.
Yes.
I think it's a tragedy. It's still going on. I have a case even today. As we speak, I've reported it to the judge. She turns it back over to the abuser. His name is Ted Rhodes, and he's in there with Carrie Peck of Peck and Bloom, and I don't know what these people are doing, but the guy who used to be strong and vibrant, he'd punch you out in a minute, gets into a guardianship. Next thing you know, he's got some weird fall. They got him in a nursing home. He's all drugged up. I reported to the court, because drugs are, as used as chemical restraints, are illegal. So here he's taking these drugs that are basically chemical restraints. They give him Seroquel, Risperdal, all these horrible, horrible chemicals that are contraindicated for anybody over 60.
The age, that's right.
Turns him into a puddle, and then all of his muscles are atrophied, but they make him go to physical therapy. What good is that?
Yes, they had my mother in some kind of a physical therapy program, but she was bedridden, so I don't understand. What kind of physical therapy are they doing? They did nothing for her.
Well, if they're giving them constantly sedatives, it doesn't do any good.
She was out like a light, and we only had 1 hour to visit with her. They wouldn't allow us any more than the 1 hour. And I don't understand. Oh, they had this whole crew of all these people that were going to give her art therapy. Art therapy. She is her hands were so terrible with arthritis that she had little like booties or something on them, and she couldn't move her hands. How are they going to give her art therapy? Give me a break here. I mean, I'd like to report all of these people, but nobody seems to want to handle the report, or if they do, they just put it in the revolving, file, which is the garbage.
Circular file.
Yeah, whatever.
Yep, circular file under the desk.
Yep, yep.
And it's a terrible problem. It's going on today, and as we speak, they're trying to get rid of this guy. And I've been on this show. I've told people about Mr. Frake before.
Yes.
It's been on the blog.
Yep.
I mean, the blog is up to 90,000 views.
Oh
200
my
views a
God.
day.
Oh my God.
Has anybody done anything about this guy? No. He's still sitting there, and he's still being abused. And the judge is still issuing these crazy orders. Carolyn Quinn, I don't know what she's doing. What is she thinking? This guy, right before the guardianship, was strong, vibrant, and if you ticked him off, he would punch off your lights. Today, he is in a wheelchair. He had an undiagnosed hip injury, which they don't want to do. They all say it's fine. He's being chemically restrained. It's obvious. His eyes are dilated during the daylight. He slurs his speech. He can barely talk. He's inaudible. And all they do is they go in there and they trash the son that reports it. You know, he cares about his dad. And they just keep on saying that it's all made up, and they just keep on.
How can it be made up, JoAnne? This is ridiculous. If you see the person there in that kind of a situation, how can this possibly be made up? It's in front of your face. It's not if and or but. It is what it is. What you see.
Right. And he took pictures, and the judge doesn't want to see the pictures.
Oh yeah, she didn't want to see ours.
Right. They don't want to see any kind of abuse. If there's any kind of abuse, they ask somebody that they can depend upon to just deep six that. And it continues on. So as far as I know, as of today, I think the son is going to go out and see him, but he's still in terrible, dire straits. And nobody's fixed it. Nobody has fixed this issue. So it'll turn into the same thing like you, like many other people. And that is why I am the Illinois' most dangerous blogger, because I don't stop. I don't shut up.
And because you tell the truth, we should really have the gentleman on the program. This is something I should have done when my mother was in those nursing homes, which are owned by Morris's Formas and his son. And Philip, and I should have put it on, but I didn't know which way to go. This has never happened. I trusted my attorney. That was Karen Bowes at the time, and 27 years, and she was the Judas goat that brought us into that. Judge Kawamoto, who is taken off for parts unknown, actually San Antonio, Texas, but she left. Why would she leave the state if she was doing a good job and she was right with what she's doing? What are they afraid of?
I think we know that she was not doing a good job. She wasn't paying attention, and there were serious concerns and problems.
Very serious.
Just bury them like Judge Quinn is doing now. It's a real
talk about
serious problem.
They never even gave us money to bury my mother. They never gave us penny one. They stole from my mother's estate $1.5 million.
Missing, right.
Missing. And yes, and we don't know. We called to ask David Martin for money for burial, and there was no monies left. However, 2 years after Mother's passing, David Martin was still receiving
billing
monies.
The estate,
yes.
Right? Billing the estate.
What is he doing? He never even met my mother. He never even spoke with my mother. How does he know anything? He's communing with her spirit, but he was being paid 2 years later so they could drain the account, but they wouldn't give us money at that point to be able to bury my mother. I mean, that's terrible, JoAnne.
It's a shame. It's a tragedy. It's awful what goes on in those estates. And yet if you go and look up his property records, he lives at 43 Acorn Lane in Barrington. He has this beautiful home, beautiful estate.
Sure.
He certainly isn't worried about your mom, and he's there every day. Saw him today on the probate floor. Miriam Solovechit, right?
Yeah.
She was up there, and
she's not supposed to even be practicing up there.
She's up there. I've seen her up there. I saw her up there today. And it all goes on. It's all business as usual, and it is business. That 18th floor is still a business.
Well,
they go around, they talk about how great the OPG is, but when I ask them how often do you see the ward,
they don't. Or they don't.
Or they don't at all.
They don't at all.
They put them in horrible nursing homes. I've got another case right now. It's a mother and son, and you know what they did? They split up the mother and son. The mother's at home. The son lived with the mother for 57 years. It's a Monahan case. They come in there, and the whole family got along. It's a kind of a strange situation, but, you know, families are like that.
Well,
We got a daughter-in-law. The mother-in-law adored her. And then we have a son. He suffered a stroke. They put him in some dumpy nursing home down in the city. So mom can't get to see him. She's alone in her house now. She doesn't understand what's going on. And they blame the daughter-in-law for everything. And she tried to help take over the buildings, and the mother's buildings, and get them rented and everything, which she was successful at. She rehabbed apartments. She got everything ready. And, of course, the OPG comes in there and just stirs up all kinds of trouble. All kinds of trouble. It makes it clear she can no longer see the mother-in-law anymore, even though she's coughing up all the receipts, everything she has to, you know. And they just cause terror. Now the grandson, he can only see 72 hours advance notice from the OPG. To see my own grandmother?
well, I was only allowed once a week, maybe.
For an hour.
For 1 hour only.
Right.
And we were never left alone. This is with my mother.
And this is Miriam Solo.
This is Miriam Solo, yes. We should say, Miriam Solo, hello, Miriam Solo and David Martin, please come on the program. We give you an open invitation. Public.
And then let's
Make me
have
choke on your
let's
name.
have Carrie Peck, because I want to know how he got those 3 kids through law school, and it was all free, and then they weren't qualified to get in, but they got in anyway. And of course, their excuse that you know when you were applying to law school, you know exactly where your LSAT and your grades fall. You know if you can get into U of I or not. And yet nobody's pulled their licenses. They haven't been disciplined for this. Not a one of them.
They're practicing law?
Yes, they are. Kerry Peck got his 3 kids, and it was in the Chicago Tribune. I'm not making this up.
Of course
He
not.
got his 3 kids who weren't qualified into University of Illinois. The scholarships are only supposed to go to needy children. 3 kids got scholarships, the whole thing. And of course, their excuse was, we didn't know that somebody got us in. How could they not know? You know,
Oh,
that's
please.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
We didn't know we weren't entitled to the scholarships. Give me a break.
Well, are they paying back then the monies?
No, nobody's doing anything. The ARDC gives them a free pass, but they come after me. Okay, so now that I've related all this horrible information, let me tell you, this is what they do. And every time they get mad at me for publishing something on the blog, they send me this. You know, I always get invited to bring these things to the show.
Hey, Supreme Court of Illinois.
This is from the Supreme Court of Illinois, and on the back it says, in re JoAnne Marie, Denison respondent. In appearing to the court that a verified petition has been filed by the administrator of the ARDC alleging a complaint was voted against you, well, big deal. You have violated the rules of professional conduct. Now, this is what you have to just hear. That you have engaged in conduct involving fraud or moral turpitude or which threatens irreparable injury to the public, your clients, or the orderly administration of justice, and there appears to be persuasive evidence to support the charges. What evidence do they have me of lying?
Yeah,
First of all, I only blog.
That's right.
Right.
Well, so, and who's the one that's bringing this against you?
This is the ARDC. They filed this petition, and then they asked the Illinois Supreme Court to summarily, like as soon as possible,
Jerry
send
Larkin?
me.
Jerry Larkin is the one that's bringing
Jerry
this?
Larkin does this through his minions.
Yep.
Melissa Smart, who has a condo mysteriously paid in full, right? And then we have Sharon Aprishik, who has been after my butt forever. And I get these all the time. It's like, you only have to get one of these, right? You would think, only one. Every time they get mad at me, today I'm sitting in court on the bench with my client. And they send over some little, some little brown-eyed, blue-eyed thing from the ARDC and hands me this. I'm like, oh, thank you. I go, I've already gotten like a bunch of these. And see, it has the official seal.
Yes, I see.
Why do I
does
need
it say
5 of these?
number 12 or 15 or 18?
Yeah, really, it should. So this has got to be the 4th time I must have ticked off Jerry Larkin with something, Jerome Larkin, that's on the blog. Because every time I think either I publish something Ken says it's God's honest truth,
yeah,
or I
sure.
publish something.
This is
Next thing you
truthful.
know, they send me a piece of paper, something to harass me.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is how I know that they're reading the blog.
They
See?
must, yes, they are reading the blog.
Because they take
yes.
the same thing now and they keep on sending it to me, either in the mail or they have somebody drop it by. It's the craziest thing. So I think they're doing it because they want my clients to know, but all my clients know that's the first thing we talk about when they come in the office, how the ARDC is persecuting me, how everything I say on the blog is true. all of them are victims. They're looking for an attorney that will give them sympathy.
Yes, yeah.
They're looking for an attorney that will turn to their family and say, this person's not crazy. It's the people who are on the bench. It's the people who are standing right up next to that bench in suits and ties and
Yeah.
fancy dresses. Those are the crazy people.
So
I'm dangerous. I am dangerous.
yeah, well, you're a dangerous blogger. Look at that.
That's right. Irreparable injury.
Oh,
irreparable.
to them. To them.
Yes, to them, right.
Not the
Because
public.
I tell the truth.
To them, because you tell the truth.
That's right, and
That's
they can't
right.
handle it. So this time I got it. They actually
What's
found
the
some
date?
folder. I love the folder.
Yeah.
Well, this was filed on February 6th, and I think that they served me a couple of times at that time. And then I think every time they get mad at me, they dump another one in the mail. And this time it has a nice. This is new.
This is yellow.
Folder.
I see
yeah.
yellow. That's
Yellow folder.
nice.
You can. And you know, I have so
Okay.
many of these. I must have 3 file cabinet
Well, you
drawers
know.
of ARDC stuff, and it's like I could paper my house 5 times
I was
over.
just going to say, any other color? Usually blue, but
And of course,
yellow is
we're
okay.
sitting there out in front with my client, who is a terrible probate victim. Right? She's just been
Terrible.
Diane Nash. Now, Diane Nash was a civil rights leader, and she's in the movie Selma. They actually talk about her. So her and I get along 1,000%. And she has been up and down the ringer. Her nemesis is Pat Handlin, who is another nutcase. And so she's been through this. So we're like, well, what should we do with it? Should we cut it in half and roll it up on the roll in the bathroom? It's ridiculous. What do they think that they're doing? I did bring the other article because you talked about, you wanted to talk
Yes.
about the article
Yes.
from the Chicago Daily Law Bulletin. I
Yes.
don't know if this woman is she's a daughter of the former pastor of President Barack Obama. She's a daughter of Reverend Jeremiah Wright, who we know just says crazy things. I mean, everybody knows that during his sermons. And then President Obama wanted to distance himself from Jerry Wright. But apparently, this woman got in trouble. Let's see. But I don't know if she was an attorney or not. But she was involved in a number of scams and money laundering.
Money laundering.
Money laundering.
Yes,
So
money
I don't
laundering.
know if there's something out of there that you
Well,
want to take a look at. But it is an interesting article. And of course, you can't do the kinds of things that she did unless you have some kind of assistance in the city, you know,
That's right.
Because a lot of that turns out to be, I believe, city money or whatever, and she's laundering something. I don't know. What do these people do?
Well,
While I
let's-
generally don't have any money at all because I represent people pro bono and probate. So, and the other thing we can do is I will put it up on there. There is a declaration, and you can do those. I'm going to send them to the Supreme Court, and I think every time they send me one of these, I'm going to load this up on the website because we get to do the automatic upload.
Oh, all right.
So if you can, everybody can do a declaration to the Illinois ARDC and talk about the fact that my blog is true, it tells the truth, and that I should not be summarily suspended because it's probably going to leave about 35 people just summarily without counsel because they can't afford to go up against these attorneys. I mean, the amount of work and time I put into these cases is phenomenal. It's incredible in order to fight them.
Where else can we take this? Where else can we take this so people know about what Jerry Larkin is trying to do? Where else? I mean, the ARDC, the Supreme Court, I mean, that's
basically it. And the Supreme
That's
Court has
it.
problems on their records too.
Absolutely.
We talked about that. The Supreme Court appointed an attorney, I think Jeffrey Zimmerman, and I've been told they appointed him because he does nothing. And I think he got appointed by Governor Blagojevich. So that's where all that's going. It's going nowhere. There's nobody to investigate the ARDC. They don't file ethics reports, which they're mandated to do under the Illinois Ethics Reporting Act of 2009. If you call them up and challenge them on you, some of them will say just nasty things and slam down the phone. Others will say, oh my gosh, I should really be doing that. But for the most part, there are no controls over this entire system.
Well, the fact that Jeremiah Wright, he's the former pastor of President Barack Obama, was sent to jail. Not that they're going to, just arrested her. She was sent to jail Monday, today is Wednesday, by a federal judge who revoked her bond in a money laundering case. Her name is Jerry Wright. She's 49 years of age, of Hazel Crest, was convicted last March of 11 corruption counts, including money laundering and lying to a grand jury in a case tied to a state grant. Her father, a lightning rod in Obama's 2008 campaign, was not involved, they said, in the case. But federal prosecutors on Monday this past Monday, argued that her bond should be revoked, alleging she had participated in ghost payrolling scheme at a private company in Indiana. And after her money laundering conviction, she has not been charged based on ghost payrolling allegations, but the judge ruled that there was probable cause for such a case in Indiana. The U.S. District Judge Sue Meyerkoff rejected the argument by Wright's attorney that she had performed and worked for the Indiana company and ordered her taken into custody. Wright removed her earrings, handed them to her attorney, and left the courtroom in handcuffs. That's what we're waiting for Miriam Solo
And company.
And company at all. Absolutely. Right. I don't think
and
she
many,
was earrings.
Many others.
Yes.
Many others.
Yes. Left the courtroom in handcuffs.
A lot of those people.
We are. Yes. It didn't
and a lot of those people right behind the bench.
Yes. It didn't say she was wearing an orange jumpsuit, but hey, if it's blue, gray, or whatever, we'll be happy.
Who cares, right?
Yeah. The handcuffs are important. Her sentencing in the money laundering case was moved up to March the 20th and had been set for April the 3rd. In that case, she was accused of taking as much as $11,000 as part of a scam involving Regina Evans, the former Country Club Hills police chief, who was sentenced to 5 years in prison.
Oh, my goodness.
Evans had acquired a $1.25 million state grant secured in part to train people in bricklaying and electrical skills. Hey, let me finish. But she went on
easier by the minute.
She went on a spending spree.
I'll bet she did.
Since Wright's conviction, she received $8,192 under the auspices of working at Barry's Plastic in Franklin, Indiana. Prosecutors said, but Wright and others, including a former plant manager, were involved in a scheme in which she got paid as temporary work, but actually didn't do anything, the prosecutors said. On Monday, Wright offered some emails containing sparse information in an attempt to buttress her position that she did do work, but Assistant U.S. Attorney Tim Bass quickly poked holes in the argument. That included quizzing a company controller who testified on Friday and Monday that Wright wasn't a legitimate employee and was not seen at the small plant. Bass said the Indiana allegations were similar to the money laundering case. She received the money and she spent it, Bass said. He's the U.S. State's attorney. Wright's attorney, Victor Henderson, asked the judge to consider putting Wright on house arrest until she is sentenced in the money laundering case. Meyerkoff said she wanted to avoid revoking the bond, but she ruled Wright should be locked up. Hooray for this judge. Hey, she gets a gold star. The judge said she would reconsider if evidence surfaced that showed Wright actually had done any work for the Indiana firm. But she's in jail now.
Right.
As we sit here, right, wrong, Wright is in jail. Yeah, this was wonderful.
But the interesting thing is
thank you.
The amounts of money that they're talking about that were procured by fraud and legerdemain and skullduggery, the reality of it is that's nothing compared to what we see in probate all the time.
And this is out of the Chicago Daily Law Bulletin.
Yes.
Here's what you missed. Wow. So
that is amazing.
Isn't that beautiful?
And yet look at the amounts of money we see every day, people complaining about $500,000 in a year. Millions.
It's
crazy.
They talk about Hillary Clinton, who has got $2 billion with a B dollars from countries that thought they may curry her favor. But I think, I think that was the wrong thing to do, is to take anything. You don't do that. You just don't do that. I don't know where these people get the idea they can just see something they want, take it and put away those that have worked all of their lives to save penny by penny, and the families that have suffered because they didn't have, and just decide that they're going to murder, which is really the word.
That's how it ends.
Murder these
Wrongful
people.
death, murder.
That's right, murder them.
All they have is morphine at the end,
and that's
fentanyl
it. Yeah.
patches.
I don't understand that. I don't
And
understand
there's
that.
the people do not have an irreversible condition. It's crazy what happens.
Well,
Absolutely crazy what goes on that floor. And the judges don't monitor it.
why would
it's
they
okay.
monitor it? Because they're
They
a part of
benefit.
it.
Well, they benefit
Of
because
course.
they get campaign contributions.
Of course, and
From the people they call into their court and, say, here, or go out and see so-and-so. And sometimes I know this one attorney, his name is Mr. Hubbard, he was assigned to go and check on Janie Thomas. I don't think he spent more than 5 minutes in the house. It was such a short period of time. He had the motor running in the car. He was double parked out in front.
double parked.
That's your guardian ad litem. I don't know what he charged for that, but it's ridiculous. How can you write a report? And the report was horrible. It's supposed to be about whether the house is neat and clean, whether it's the people are reasonable, whether or not she's treated kindly. You're supposed to question the person who's named in a petition. And I think he asked her 2 questions and left. I think that was basically it. And all the time they talk about how wonderful the guardians are, how wonderful the attorneys are.
Well, if they're so wonderful, I again openly, publicly invite you all who are guardians to come on the program and tell your job position, what your description is, and we won't have to ask you, or we won't ask you about any of your cases, but what is your job position? What does it say you have to do? Do you fulfill that obligation? How long have you been doing this? And who pays for you to be able to do that? If in fact you are paid by the estate of these people, do you answer to them for what is transpiring to their loved ones? I mean, they are entitled to know. We are asking you, if you are an straight up citizen, if you are doing your job, please give me a call the studio, get my email. Here's my email, Bev, Cooper's Corner, and say you're a guardian, you'd like to be on the program, and you'd like to prove me wrong. Boy, I'd love that. No fighting, we're just having conversation. This is wonderful. Please, we let you do what, you feel you think your job is to do. By the way, please take a look at us on YouTube. We have some new YouTube videos that are just gone on, and they're wonderful, and Mr. Amu is on there. He now has 3,500 views.
Excellent.
3,500 views. Each person just watching one time, because you can only go on one time and watch that. And I don't know where they've been. They've been all over the world because it's on YouTube. And he is innocently accused because he told a judge that there is another, that someone was corrupt in a case he was dealing with. And because he's an honorable, God-fearing man, this is what happened, JoAnne.
Well, I think there were 3 cases. In the first case, he complained that the judge was acting corruptly because he had served the gas station attendant.
Yes.
The law is that you can serve anybody who appears to be reliable, and we'll turn it over to management.
Yes.
It was a slip and fall. He did that, and yet the judge dismissed the case. She said that it was wrong, even though there was case law the other way, to serve a gas station attendant. And it was interesting because the company claimed that the gas station attendant couldn't speak English. Now, I don't know how you can be a gas station attendant, and they have all those warnings saying that the person who is there for the day has to be competent.
Yes.
And then he spoke English during the deposition.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. He or she reversed themselves. Kind of tells you that they realized that they were wrong. And maybe it was after he made a stink. Maybe it was after he put right in that pleading that it was a corrupt move. And so what? It motivated the judge to change an extremely wrong decision. And then in another case, this is even more interesting because it goes on all the time. A judge had one of his personal injury cases She kept on ruling against him, and then guess what happens? It turns out that opposing counsel's law firm, her brother's a partner. What the heck?
Yeah.
He was furious when he found out, and of course he said that was corruption. And I think the other one, they said that he had accused the judge of being corrupt, but he never did. There wasn't anything there, which is very typical for an ARDC pleading. I'm going to be publishing, or I have published, part of my brief to the Supreme Court, and I listed all of the reasons why my case in particular is absolutely absurd. I mean, we've got transcripts changing, judges resigning, Peter Schmiedel, Adam Stern, and Cynthia Franga saying the blog is a pack of lies. They're the only ones, and they're the ones that we're complaining about. What kind of witnesses are they? And then the family members get up there. First of all, they ban Gloria, can't have her up there. They say she didn't turn over like 100,000 emails over 5 years. Did Adam Stern, Cynthia Faranga, or the ARDC witnesses turn it? No, they didn't have to turn anything over. They weren't banned. Oh, yes, come on here. Gloria, they have to ban because she would talk about the fact that they went after her mother's money, they went after her money, they chained her to a chair in Judge Stewart's anteroom, threatened her pets with euthanization, which Judge Stewart denied on the stand, changed her testimony. And then we also have Scott Evans, who was a witness to many of these things. He went to many of the court proceedings, took copious notes, and he's a very respectable person in the community. He had a very respectable job before this. He was actually in military intelligence. Of course, we could make the joke about that, right?
Yep.
So he understands what's going on here, and they had to ban him. They said that before in the testimony, there was talk about the fact that Peter Schmiedel would get all of Gloria's $200,000, which of course he did in one way or another. It went there. That wasn't a secret. Everybody knew it. All of Mary's assets that had to be sold and liquidated, which all of the attorneys said, all of the suits said, must be for her care. All they went to was attorney's fees, and the ARDC had to keep that out. They had to keep out the fact that by the time of my trial, there was about $180,000 slated for attorney's fees over 4 years or something. And of course, they blame Gloria, but Gloria's got her side to the story. When is it that you're obstructing justice, or Gloria or me? This is what they got me on. They said, this is ridiculous. I write a blog, and because we talk about the law on the blog, that caused Gloria to file pleadings, and you can't have that. Since when does a news media responsible for what goes on in a courtroom or what a litigant does? That's the most preposterous thing. You have a problem in court, blame the media, right? Blame the media.
That's ridiculous.
And you know, Bev, you're part of that too, you know.
I know.
I know. You're supporting me. I come on the show.
Absolutely.
Gloria might watch it with somebody.
All
and
for the truth. All for the truth.
And they might get an idea.
Well, listen, my viewers know that we only tell the truth on the program.
Right.
I always tell the people that come on the program, if you have something to say, you better have paperwork to be able to document what you say. The truth, this is what we work on, is the truth. Nobody's getting caught on any lies because there aren't any lies that we tell. That is the truth.
And if you got a letter to the contrary, you would invite that person to be on your show.
Absolutely. Come on the program, show it, tell it. You show me the wrong. More than 32 years we've been doing this program, so we would like to have you on the program. Absolutely.
Tell us how so-and-so is wrong.
We would like to see, from your estimation, what you think is wrong or right or whatever. I'm not exactly a Bill O'Reilly, but, you know, we tell the truth. Whatever you want to do, I'll be able to let you know if that is the truth, in fact. You know,
well, you have sparkles. Bill O'Reilly doesn't.
I have sparkles.
I know
This
you
is
have
true.
sparkles.
I love this. This is sparkles.
And but the thing of it is like you've never gotten any letters. I don't get any letters from these people. Nobody in their right mind would write a letter saying that Mary Sykes has jurisdiction when we know that we've gotten all the stuff from the sheriff's office. How could I possibly be convicted by the ARDC when you start reading her case and all of the documents, actual court documents and pleadings? Mary was not served. The elderly sisters were not served. It was a circus. She really received no hearing. There was no competency hearing. The doctor who was involved is the same one as Shaw, Rabin, and Amder. They say everybody's incompetent. And they say they're incompetent going back 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. Give me some money and I'll tell you how far back that incompetency goes.
And we should say at this stage, Mary is what, 95 years old?
Mary is
She's
now
95.
95. She is living in a place she never put in her advance directives with a person she did not put in her advance directives. She wanted to stay in her home and be cared for by Gloria and Carolyn if she would come by and help her, but she made it clear she wanted to be in her home and she didn't want to live anyplace else.
That's exactly what my mother said, and then Miriam Solo got hold of the case,
Right.
and she just put her wherever she wanted to because
She's got friends.
She's got friends in dubious places. So
That's exactly
yes,
it.
yes.
Exactly it.
And I saw on a tag that they had my mother's picture with another woman's last name on it.
Yep, and I'll bet you that's because they were selling that bed a couple
And
of
I
times.
said, "Oh my goodness!"
You didn't figure that out, but I knew what it was
said,
right
"Oh
away.
my God, this is my mother's picture.
Right.
That's not her name."
How many times can you sell that bed? Medicare fraud is exactly what it is. It should have been reported. So everybody that's watching here today, if you see your loved one with a different name on them and there's like strange names running around, that's because they will sell the beds 2-3 times over and report it to Medicare fraud. I believe that Seth Gilman was implicated for that and similar things. He was the one that decided, oh, you get $800 a day and not $200 a day for general inpatient care if they're in hospice. So everybody's in hospice, everybody gets drugs, everybody gets horrible procedures, and I'm sure he killed more than a few people off. He was indicted with more than 100 affidavits. This went on for 5 years.
Can you tell me?
Fraud.
I know it's fraud, but JoAnne, what is different between what the Nazis did in the concentration camps and what's going on now in the nursing homes?
Nothing. It's a gulag. It's a
It
horrible
is.
place.
It is.
And they put people in those homes. It's against their will. First thing they do is they suffer a fall. How does that happen? Aspiration, anything to make these people bedridden and dependent upon the nursing home. They isolate them. They make sure the family doesn't come by. They drug them. And when they get really good, it's a feeding tube laced with drugs at one end and a diaper at the other. And as soon as that money is gone, it's morphine patches, fentanyl patches, whatever it takes. And then there's no more
To
feeding.
kill 'em.
I even know of a case where the Guardian's attorney walked in one day, and the Guardian, they said, oh, mom's out of money, so that means the court says we don't have to feed her or give her water. You can, but none of us are going to do it. And they got away with it. And this has been reported to the authorities, and have we heard anything?
What authorities? The authorities
ARDC, JIB, FBI, it's been reported because I reported it.
So, but JoAnne, no one is stepping forward. Well, are they doing this surreptitiously? Are they doing this
I don't know.
covertly? How are they doing this to be able to look after these people that they are being murdered in nursing homes? How much clearer could I possibly make it? Senior citizens or those that are
Isolated,
disabled are being isolated and murdered in nursing homes.
Force feeding tubes.
Someone come on the show and say otherwise.
Explain
please.
this. Yeah, explain
Come
it. I
on
would like
and
to
please
know.
say. Yeah.
Talk about the cases.
We all would like to know. We all would like
That's
to know.
right. And we got the names. We've got the Drabicks. We have the Tyler, Lydia Tyler, Rose
Gore.
Drabick.
Yep.
We got your dear mother, Alice Gore. We have Dorothy Bacon. We have a number of people. I want to know. Now, that's what, 5 or 6 murders in the Illinois probate system? Oh, Carol Wyman. They nearly killed her off, right?
Yeah.
She got saved, but she left that
Her
3
son,
days later.
Yeah, John took
The sons drove all night from one state to another. And do you know today that Guardian still has a huge legal fee lien against the house? For nearly murdering. That's how they reward them. And I went in there to tell the judge, you shouldn't be doing this, and she just ignored me. It's all fraud. It's fraud on the court.
It's fraud, and this reminds me of what we went through with juvenile court with our mentally ill daughter.
Oh, that's another cesspool, too.
And this is incredible. The same attorney that we had, Karen Bowes, who is now a judge, was the one in charge of our mentally ill daughter, and she knows that Kimmy is mentally ill, and they made her a judge. She's not telling the truth, but the fact is that someone ought to do a look-see of what happened some 35 years ago. She's going to be 42 years old, and what happened to the murder that took place in Skokie in 1982.
Terrible.
And my daughter was before and after the fact. Where are these girls that took place in this they planned it. It was pre-planned. It was
Premeditated.
Premeditated. It was everything you can imagine, and the court tried to cover it up. Everybody tried to cover it up.
Because it was embarrassing for the agency.
Yes, the Benjamin and Gibbons murder in Skokie that my daughter was a part of before and after the fact, and I was in that courtroom 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for 6 weeks in 1982. And Judge Karmazian, he was a terrific judge. I don't know if he's certainly not on the bench at this point, if he's, wherever he is, retired. But he heard everything. That courtroom was packed, more than 300 people in that little bitty courtroom in Skokie. The bailiff locked the doors because the judge said, if you're going to be in here, you need to be in here. You're not coming in or going out. And they they showed the autopsy. They showed everything. And I said, boy, I need to see this because my daughter is severely ill, severely mentally ill. She was adjudicated by a court here in Lake County. So this is not just hypothetical or making things up. She was adjudicated by a court here in Lake County, a juvenile court, family court, that Kimberly Cooper is a danger to herself and others. And Karen Bowes, the attorney, now Karen Bowes, the judge, was the attorney for my daughter. And so she knew all of this back in the late 70s. She knew all of this. She was coming to the court here in Lake County, and she's the one that the Judas goat that handed us
your daughter was placed with another girl that was extremely dangerous.
Yes.
And that's how this all came about.
That is correct.
And
that
your daughter should not have been around her because this girl was way out there on a limb.
Absolutely.
And it was known that she could commit that type of harm.
Jackie Gibbons was Kimmy's roommate, was her roommate.
And so your daughter was swept up with a person that she shouldn't have been swept up with.
Absolutely. They put in a 7 or 8 year old in with a 18-year-old.
Who was totally crazy.
Absolutely. And so
violently.
She was found guilty because she butchered her mother and father with a hammer.
Lizzie Borden.
I did all I could not to become ill in that courtroom because
That's terrible.
It was terrible. You had to see it to believe it because no human being with any soul or heart could inflict such pain on two human beings that love this child. By the way, you should know she was an adopted child. They adopted her, and it was a private adoption because the child came from, at that time, it was called Dunning Hospital.
I remember Dunning.
Yes, it is now nicely called Reed Mental Health, but this was between
years ago.
Yes, this was between two clients that were there, that this child was conceived and brought into this world, and a private adoption adopted this child out with having both mother and father as clients in that severe hospital for mentally ill, and this is what the outcome was. And I mean, it was traumatic. Words can't come to my tongue, to my mouth to speak because of how stressful it was. Just
it
horrific.
Sounds awful.
It was
awful.
horrific. Blood spatter all over. They rolled the parents in a carpet to get them out of the house. They broke through.
No, your daughter was part of this, right?
They all were saying how to do it, and the psychologist was the one who sat the girls around to ask the girls, if you wanted to kill your parents, how would you do it?
And then this comes about.
And exactly so.
How did they get out to do this? I mean, they were
There
in
were
the institution.
six girls or 9 girls in the house. They were overbooked because the girls had nowhere to sleep.
Right.
And this is what they did. And
So they went and broke out one night and they did this?
they did it.
That's
they
a
did.
terrible, terrible
Yeah,
story.
yeah.
Just horrible.
And she was waiting for her mother at the train station, and I remember in the courtroom, it's a haunting sound. It says that she said the mother, before Jackie murdered her, standing behind the doorway with the hammer that they bought from Tannenbaum Hardware Store on Main and Crawford in Skokie, a big hardware store, which is now a Costco or something, or JVC or whatever. They tore it down and built something else. How could you do this? How could you do this? She said, how could you do this to me? And that's when Jackie was the one who butchered her mother and father.
Terrible.
Yeah. Blood all over the place.
So these girls broke out, did this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And where was everybody else when this happened?
well,
Lord only knows, right?
Who knows?
Great supervision.
Yeah, the house, the halfway house or whatever they call it, JBC in Chicago was the ones that were being paid thousands and thousands of dollars a month for the care of these girls by the state, by the city, by parents. They were collecting money hand over fist. And the boys' home was just further down the block. These were unbearably ill, sick people that really could not be out in public, yet my daughter was being there taught how to commit these murders.
And then she went along with it when somebody actually did it.
Absolutely, she did, absolutely. Whether she was threatened, I have no idea, but she's ill, and the findings of the Lake County Juvenile Court here in Lake County did their own diagnosis and brought in their own physicians, their own psychiatrists, and they said she is severely mentally ill, she's psychotic, she's borderline schizophrenic, she a borderline personality. She is schizophrenic, and a danger to herself and others. And so she has not been home since the age of 7, and this May she will be 42 years old.
And where is she living?
Who knows?
So she's out on her own, wandering around wherever. But she was adjudicated a juvenile delinquent in a murder.
She was,
When she was like 7 or 8.
8 years old, yeah. And the judges could not believe in Lake County that she was as severely ill. When I came in and I said, we don't belong in a place like this. My daughter, I'm just looking for medical attention for her. They said go to juvenile court, they would help. But this is what they did here in Lake County. None of those judges are still on the bench. I don't know where they are, but they're not on the bench. But there's no way that you could not see that this child was severely ill. I mean, really ill. But if you want to know about the case, here, contact me here, Bev, Cooper's Corner at yahoo.com, or go online to Nancy J. Thorner, and you can read all about the case. It's really an eye-opener, and you want to know about mental illness and what it can do to a human being without care. They weren't giving her the proper care that she really needed. It's drastic. It's a waste of a perfectly good life. If she could have been kept with the proper medication, she could have been a productive human being in society. We don't know where she is or what she does. She's just out there. So, America, she's out there. Don't have to worry about ISIS or going to Syria.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
We have the 18th floor of the Daily
We have the
Center.
18th floor
That's
of
right.
the Daily, probate, and anybody else that comes out of that court. They are all more dangerous than what ISIS is.
Yeah, we don't have to look on foreign soil. We
No.
have plenty of them right
here in Chicago,
and they
Illinois.
claim to be lawyers and judges and everything, and yet they're not doing their job.
People
they're not following the law.
Supposedly high respectable profession, which no longer is. Every mother wanted their child to be a professional, a doctor, a lawyer, someone to help other people. These people help, but they help themselves. They don't care about other people.
Yeah, they stir up trouble, they
Yeah.
churn the bill, the litigation all over the place when people should be cooperating and doing the best thing for the family, and they just get in there and they rip these families apart.
It's terrible.
They terrorize them. I'm sure that's how you must have felt when you were on the 18th floor.
Well, absolutely. I didn't know, I'm in their territory, and I even told the judge. She laughed at me. I said, I don't know what's going on in here. Could you please explain to me, Judge Kawamoto, what's happening? And she laughed. She just gave a belly laugh out. It was wonderful. She thought it was terrific that she could do this. Well, everybody has their time, and Judge Kawamoto, your time is coming as well. All
And
can say.
I find that to be a real problem on the 18th floor. These judges, they scoff, they roll their eyes. Gloria got a ton of that. I put it on the blog, and the ARDC is mad at me, but that's exactly what she did in court. You could sit there and you could watch her do that. And then when Gloria tried to, do we talk about the dog? Do we talk about her bringing her dog to court?
Oh, he's a therapy dog.
That
sure.
was terrible.
Yeah, therapy dog.
And Judge Aisha McCarthy, who has this wonderful, warm marketing tape for when she got, you can look it up on the internet. If you Google it, Judge Aisha McCarthy, AICHA-MACCARTHY, who is a judge. I believe she's a full elected judge.
Oh, elected? Wow.
Beautiful trailer. She's going to care. She's going to be fair and honest, blah, blah, blah. Well, first, what is the first thing she do with Gloria? She writes an order saying that Gloria can't have a therapy dog. The ADA, for people who don't know out there, I want to just mention this because we're getting flack from the judges and the bailiffs. And the judges in circuit court right now. If you go to usdepartmentofjustice.gov, which of course is the FBI, they have a poster on ADA service animals. And what it says is that if you go to a public place, a place of public accommodation, and they are only allowed to ask 2 questions. And Gloria looked this up. She's very smart, and she knew the 2 questions. One is, do you have a disability? And the other is, do you have an animal that helps mitigate your disability? And if the answer to those 2 questions is yes, you can bring in your animal. And some go through certain, they have certificates. Yeah. You don't need anything. And I was just at circuit court this week explaining to security, they don't need certification. You only get to ask 2 questions. It doesn't matter what they are as long as they're an animal, generally it's a dog, that mitigates a disability. You have to let them in. You have to ensure that their rights are protected by this. It's only if the animal is out of control or is threatening.
A therapy dog is trained, so we don't have much.
Oh, we don't.
We don't have much time. But would you like to invite whoever's here
yes, to the blog?
Yes,
the blog.
Yes, the blog.
To the blog.
And you have a court appearance date?
The next thing we're going to have, I didn't even look it up. They were you'll love this. They were supposed to have my oral argument on March 13th. Now, Mr. Stephen Split says that the record is too voluminous, and even though they're not supposed to get extensions of time, the ARDC got an extension of time.
All right, so it's not.
So it's been put off. I'm sure that I'll be on the show since then, but
yes,
it's in
you
April.
will.
You can look at, I got the order I'll have the order up on the blog.
We will have this.
So it'll be April.
We want to thank you, JoAnne,
Thank
always
you.
the most dangerous
I am
blogger
dangerous
in Illinois.
Because I tell the truth.
We tell the truth.
That's
we tell
right.
the truth. So thank you for allowing us in your home, your place of business. Please take a look at us on the YouTube. You can find our YouTube address. It's there somewhere. We have a YouTube address. YouTube. Somebody.
Great videos on YouTube. You can just.
There. Well, it's going to be on there.
It'll be on there anyway, right?
Okay.
And my blogs are at www.marygsikes.com. It's right up there. I think I spelled
there
it wrong
is,
a little
yes.
bit. And we also have a mirror at www.justiceforeveryone.com, and you can always Google me, and my blogs pop right up.
And we want to thank you. It's in memory of attorney Michael Thomas Norris, his passing. And there's my YouTube. Catch us on YouTube. There you go. Woo, it just went by.
Go.
Okay, there he is.
Oh, yes.
That's Michael Norris. Rest in peace, Michael.